My name's Aaron Burns. I am the CFO of Twetch. I come from a background in Hollywood, and basically I'm a writer and director, actor, producer. I've done a lot of stuff, and I have movies that are on Netflix and have been in theaters and real projects, and now I am kind of in this Bitcoin thing. I've been around it for a long while, but this is the first time that I'm really out in the open with it and coming to events and things like that. So.
Okay. Do you want to say your pseudonym?
No.
Okay.
Rather not.
Okay. So what's your project?
My project is called Twetch, and kind of like on the face of it, Twetch is just a social media app built on the BSV blockchain. And it's kind of comparable to Twitter in its current form, but as we go on, Twetch really evolves past that feature set. We'll reach Twitter feature parity probably in October, and after that, we're kind of going to split off and start doing all kinds of new stuff and new avenues of revenue generation and things like that that we're really excited about. So Twetch today is similar to Twitter. Twetch in 6 months is going to be completely different while allowing you to do the same things that you can do currently today.
Okay. Why Cambrian?
When we were in Toronto for CoinGeek Toronto, Jack Liu and I became fast friends, and he was talking about wanting to take us to a place to get a bunch of devs in a place they couldn't leave, and basically cracking the whip and forcing them to finish their products, right? So he kind of felt like nobody's really moving and nobody's really motivated except these hackathon guys and these uptime SV guys, and you guys at Twetch, you guys are moving, but there's a lot of guys out there that are kind of slacking, you know? So I told him, dude, if you do that, like, let me know, because I will, I'll sponsor, you know, like I'll sponsor, and I'll sponsor through Twetch, and I told him I'd sponsor 5 devs flights out here, you know, and to stay and all that stuff, and he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, man, do it, and I'll sponsor for sure. So a week later, he sends me a preliminary website, you know, and I was like, oh wow, you're really doing it. He's like, yeah, man. So I sent him the money, and now we're here, you know. And I knew that this philosophy of like kind of going somewhere else and putting everybody in a different place that's not close to home works, because in the film industry, you do something like that when you don't want the studio executives to come to set, right, and like interfere. So what you do, and my mentor did this, that's how I know, a guy named Robert Rodriguez, when he was making a movie called Desperado, it was a movie for Sony, and it was like his first big studio movie and all this stuff, and he really didn't want these guys like coming in and messing up his funk, because he's a guy that basically makes movies on his own, you know. So he set the movie in the hottest desert in Mexico, right, in this little podunk town where there weren't even hotels, right? And so you can imagine these executives from these movie studios showing up in their Armani suits and their Ferraris and stuff, and into like this little bitty town in Mexico, and like none of them came, right? I mean, one executive came for one day, and he left immediately. It was like, yeah, everything's great, bye, I'm out of here. You might sushi somewhere, right? So by bringing everybody to Bali, which is, yeah, a tourist destination for people from the East, right? If you're coming from the United States or Europe or South America, like, this is a really hard place to get to, right? Like, for me, for example, like, I flew from Santiago, Chile, 13 hours to Auckland, New Zealand. Auckland, New Zealand, I waited 8 hours. I get on another plane, I fly 10 hours to Bali. Then I get in a car with some guy I don't know that's holding a sign, and then he drives me 2 hours in the middle of the night into the darkest, deepest jungle that I've ever been in, and now I'm here, right? So, like, I have no idea what this place is about. And then my friends tell me, hey, hop in this scooter, we're gonna get dinner, and I don't even know how to drive a scooter, and we're riding 30 minutes out of town to go get dinner at some little spot, right? So, like, this isn't something that most people are going to do. Only the most driven people, the people with the skin in the game, are going to actually pull off, you know? So that to me is Cambrian, and that's why it's such a good idea, right? I hope he does these every 2 months, right? Because I think it's very valuable, because the people who are in this building, and we're packed upstairs, right? Like we're packed in like sardines. There's not even chairs, like enough chairs for everybody in some cases. So people are working outside and they're staying home in their hotel and working, but everybody's accountable to like have created something, you know. We even have a board upstairs that shows how many transactions you put on chain today, right? Like how many transactions you put on chain with your company, personally, whatever you're doing, how many transactions are on chain, because that's our metric for measuring the success of BSV.
Awesome. What was your moment of truth? Why BSV?
Well, okay, so back in, let's say, I guess 2017 and before, we only had BTC, right? So I was a BTC guy. I've been in BTC for a long time. And when I've seen everything, right? I've seen all of the stuff. I don't want to date myself here because I think that's dangerous, but I've seen everything, right? Let's just say it that way. And I saw the BTC kind of get to a point, stagnate, right? And the ETH comes out, does its whatever, and then BTC tried to compete, and then it stagnates some more, then it stagnates some more, until like literally it's just like, well, it's so stagnated, it's a brick of gold now, right? Like that's the only thing people can do with it is like keep it in a hardware wallet like Smog from The Hobbit and just sit on your new digital gold. Great. Oh, what a use case, right? So when UASF happened, which is the user activated soft fork, I really saw it as an opportunity that something's going to move now, right? Like this is progress. At least I don't know where it's headed, right? Because I didn't really do my own research. I just saw the people that I knew since early days of Bitcoin saying like, this is going to move us forward. So I was like, yeah, let's move forward, right? So I started using my ability to storytell and propagandize, you know, like through my filmmaking. Like those are the skills I've learned to promote that, right? To promote us moving forward and moving ahead. And I would make memes, and I would be on Twitter and talking to people and basically creating this whole thing, and basically at the end of the day, like helping Blockstream not have to spend as much money as they did on PR, right? Like I'm doing it for free, right? So during that time, I made friends with two guys, a guy named Andrew DeSantis, and he was friends with Mark Wilcox, and both of those guys. Andrew was actually also a UASF guy. Like you can find pictures of Andrew with a UASF like camo hat at one point, right? And literally a week after he wore that hat, he was like, small blocks are stupid. I'm like, what are you talking about? Small blocks are great, dude. Like we can Raspberry Pi, everybody can have Raspberry Pi in their house and send transactions, and it's gonna be great, man. Like it's gonna be awesome. And he was like, yeah, I don't know. You should talk to this guy named Mark, right? So Mark started talking to me, and he's like, well, I have this company called Nereid in New Zealand, and he's talking about this guy named Alex St. John who invented DirectX, and it turns into like this big thing. And he starts telling me about, he starts sending me links like, you can store like 1 trillion exabytes in a string of DNA. And it's like, what are you talking about, Mark? He's like, that's not real technology yet. And he's like, yeah, but it will be, right? Like you think that we're not going to be able to store like information? Like you think that storing information in a spinning plate is like the fastest we're ever going to get? Like have some imagination. And I was like, you're right, you know? And he's like, so imagine eventually what we end up with is rather than storing your information with Google or Dropbox or these other places, you're storing your information on Bitcoin. And I was like, but how's that even possible? It's not fast enough. And he's like, yeah, it is. It's way faster. The more miners we get, the more infrastructure we get, the fatter the pipes get, the more we're incentivizing people to build better, faster, stronger networks, the more we're incentivizing miners to mine more stuff. We're actually helping to save the planet because it's basically creating a Manhattan Project for energy, right? It's forcing everybody into this kind of paradigm where they're wrapping all of their information in money, but also the electricity generation is also wrapped in money. And everything's just wrapped in money, Bitcoin money, right? We don't need any other currencies anymore. So everything's wrapped in money now, and we're just sending money back and forth to each other, but in the same way we send pictures back and forth to our grandparents, right? And we're literally sending those pictures with money attached, right? So I was like, so we're paying for the picture to be sent from point A to point B, and then we can also make money off of the fact that we're sending that from point A to point B. So it turns into this whole thing, and it really just sparked my interest, you know, it sparked my imagination. I started reading into it, started looking into what he was talking about, and lo and behold, like I start finding out like there's people who have done this before, you know, on Bitcoin, and people who have created, stored data on Bitcoin. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Then I run into this guy named Ted Nelson, and Ted Nelson created this whole project called Xanadu. And basically his idea is that we take something original, the original piece of content, and then anybody that ever was influenced by that content makes a link between that content and that influence. So you can always have a bibliography back to the original content that was created as a reference link, right? And it started really getting me thinking that the only reason why Ted Nelson couldn't build Xanadu back in the 70s is because he didn't have any way to attach money to it. So nobody was incentivized to do it. It was like this altruistic, like hippie thing, right? So now that there's money attached to all of this stuff, and people can produce a piece of original art or content or whatever, and people can pay them to reference it directly, even if it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a cent, right? There's an income generation, right? Like, think about every single time that somebody's posted that the guy and the girl meme, and the girlfriend's looking at the guy because he's looking at the hotter girl that's walking past him meme. Imagine if the original guy who posted that meme was getting money every single time, right? Imagine if every single time that Grumpy Cat was posted, the original Grumpy Cat guy was getting money for it, right? Every Grumpy Cat shirt, every time, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's getting money, right? Any viral video that the news has played, the Twitter has made money off of, or Facebook, and the original person who posted that thing doesn't make a dime, right? The only person who should really make any money off of that is the person who came up with the original meme, and they don't make anything. All they do is get followers on some platform, right? And then they can promote Skinny Fit Tea to them.
And there is money being transferred.
Oh.
It's just not, still a lot of money being transferred.
It's going like this, over the viral person, the person who deserves the most credit. It's doing this. And Jack's on one side, right? The advertisers are over here, and they're playing monkey in the middle with the viral person, right? So, and Jack's over here, Mark Zuckerberg's over here, Peter Thiel's over here. All these guys are making money off of you, and you're not making anything. So that's kind of where Twetch was sparked, right? So off of an idea like that, but my kind of like moment was when Mark told me this thing, and my friend Andrew had told me this thing, and then I started meeting some BSV. BSV wasn't even a twinkle in anybody's eye, right? It was, we're gonna fork on August 1st, 2017 to BCH, and I was like, okay, you guys should do that. I want choice, right? I think that a market economy deserves choice, right? It deserves competition. So if somebody's gonna fork, go for it. So they fork. And I'm watching BCH, I'm kind of like, I'm not really into any of these guys. Like, most of these guys come from BTC. I've seen them around for a long time. I won't mention any names, but the one who lives in Japan and acts like a politician and speaks in sound bites, we all know him. He doesn't really strike my fancy at all. He doesn't inspire, right? He's not animated. I feel like I'm being sold every time I listen. Right, and with Craig, right, everything that I ever heard about him was told to me by somebody else, and I kind of like didn't listen to him at all, ever, right? So when it came time to like go and start like doing my own research, like I heard that phrase and it was like, yeah, of course, you should always be doing your own research. What are you doing? Right? What are you doing, Aaron? This is dumb that you're not looking at everything. You always look at everything. Why aren't you looking at this? So you go and you watch that stuff, and it's like, well, he isn't a crazy guy. He might be a little like mean, but he's Australian. Like, I get it. Like, they're like New Yorkers. Okay, I can get that. It's the same kind of dichotomy. All right, there's people in my family that are just like him, so let me approach it that way. And you start watching his stuff, and some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I don't, but that's like anybody. And I have more points of agreement with him than I have points of disagreement, right? And there's a shitload of stuff I don't understand at all, right? So I have to go read more, and I have to get more prepared. But overall, I think that once we finally split off, once somebody had the bright idea, like, BCH is goofy, and I don't want to, I don't like the name, right? I don't like the branding, the campaigns don't work, the color's ugly. I didn't like anything about that coin. The second that BCH split off to form its own thing, I felt a weight off my shoulders, because now I could go see all these guys in suits, right? And that for some reason, it gives you more trust to know that a guy went and spent $1,000 on Savile Row to go like make a custom suit, and then like he's now here like talking to me about this thing that he really believes in and putting his reputation on the line, rather than some guy in a hoodie saying that he's gonna blow up the government, right? Okay, that doesn't really appeal to me. Go for it, but like has nothing to do with me, right? I trust a guy that's talking about dealing with billions and billions and billions of dollars. I trust somebody who speaks well, who is media trained, who is professional, and who basically says that they want to lock something in stone so that nobody can change it, rather than a bunch of neckbeards and Linux users and weirdos that are talking about how they want to update the program, the protocol every 6 months, or whenever it strikes some guy who some authorities fancy, right? It makes a lot more sense to me with BSV that we need to lock stuff down, remove limits, and then take the people who have the most skin in the game, which is the miners. They have the most to lose, right? They have the biggest investments. They are enterprise level. They have clean rooms, right? Everything has to run perfectly all the time, right? If anything screws up, they're burning through millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars a week, right? So I trust those guys are going to be making much better decisions on what Bitcoin needs and what they can support, right? Even if we're unlimited, they're going to make the rules as to what they can accept. You know, they know their limits better than anybody. They have the most on the line. So why wouldn't we put it in their hands? It's insane, right? So for me, it really came down to that. And once I saw that, I was like, you know what, I could build a company here. And I partnered with my friends Josh and Billy, and we went out and found a really talented team. With Ben, he was really the impetus for developing on BSV, because we had no idea how to start. And then we kind of got our team down, you know, and we brought Harrison on board, and we got Anthony, you know, and we're really just growing really quick, and we incorporated, right? We're an actual business. We're not a project, right? That's like, we want to show everybody that we're here for the long term, and we're here to build on this as much as we can and help this ecosystem as much as we can, because we really believe in it, you know? So if we're saying that, like, we're inviting regulation, right? Like, regulators, like, we aren't doing anything screwy around here, like, come on in, right? Like, KYC, whatever you want to do, like, go for it. And we think we have to go and register a company and incorporate, you know, and become a company from the country where we live, you know, or where we're from. So we are a corporation registered in the United States of America, and Twetch Inc., right, is trying to get others to do the same, right? So that we have longevity in this space, and people can put their trust in us that we're not just going to vanish into the night because we have like some anonymous accounts and we created this GitHub and everybody's now using our thing, and then we do something to break it and then it all disappears and nobody can use it anymore, and all these other projects that were dependent on that are now broken and blah blah blah. No, like, we want to have, as Jimmy says, we want to be bedrock, right? We want to put a stable foundation for people to build on rather than building on sand. We want people to be confident that they can build on Twetch, build companies on Twetch, build marketing campaigns on Twetch, build their virality on Twetch, and take advantage of it from now until whenever Twetch ceases to exist, which we hope is not for a long time.
Well, that leads into the perfect last question, the future. Where do you see yourself, not only Twetch, but yourself fitting in here? Because is there room for the media industry also to participate?
100%. Yeah, I mean, and where I see Twetch going, you know, I have some particularly famous friends, you know, who are very popular on traditional social media, and I really do see the future being about that, you know, being about onboarding those users, right? Eventually, the way that we'd like all of this to work is that you don't even know you're using BSV, right? Like, there's no reason to know that you're using BSV. If you're a celebrity, you're a very like charismatic person, but you don't know a lot about finance, you know, or technology, right? I want you joining Twetch to be just as easy as joining Instagram, just as easy as joining Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever, right? When you use those platforms, you don't know what a push or a pull or a get request is with the server. You don't even know what a server is, right? So like all you know is that my phone pops up with images or video or whatever, and I look at them and I really like them, and I say like, right? But in our case, we want you to say like, and then know that you're spending money. But when you say like or branch in the case of Twetch, you have a good chance of receiving money as well, right? We want this to be a platform in which the money that you're normally giving away because you think you're using a free service, we want that money to go, the vast majority of that to go to you, right? And the other users of the platform. The great thing about Twetch is that Twetch makes money. Yeah, we can do well, but our users do well first, and then we reap the rewards of that. Our users make vastly more money on their own content than Twetch ever will, right?
You have a self-interest in them succeeding.
100%. We are aligned, right? Because we make a percentage of what they make. But it's a very small percentage, especially when you compare it with Apple and Amazon and Google and all these guys. They're charging, you're doing a 70-30 split with these guys, right? The great thing about Twetch is as our volume increases, our prices and costs go down, right? So we can take even less and less and less and less of a cut, right? And because we're dealing with pennies, it's money that most people don't even miss, right? But it all adds up for the user, right? So let's say that you do a viral post, and for instance, there's a woman that is what we call that is known to some of our users that had a video go viral in her family, right? Of her father playing a saxophone for some cows, right? And all the cows come running, and it's a very wholesome video. There's nothing wrong with it. Like nobody would complain, not even like vegans. Like it's very wholesome, right? And it was played everywhere. It was 350,000 likes, 100,000 retweets, right? It was played on every news station around the world, right? It was played on Twitter, reaped massive ad revenue from that video. Facebook, Instagram, this and that. 1,000 people ripping that video and putting it on their own accounts, right? Not giving her credit at all, right? Just showing it as like, oh, look what happened. Oh, or even selling it as something that they did, right? So that's another probably 5 million likes and another 4 million retweets, right? That she could have gotten to boost her status, right? But because those things really have no value, they're not really a monetized thing. She didn't make any money on that. Everybody made money but her. Advertisers threw the money over her head, Jack caught it. Advertisers threw it over her head, Zuck caught it, right? Snapchat, all these other users that have the ability to promote things, right? Like let's say you're an account with 1 million users and you have viral videos and you're known for posting viral videos, right? And every once in a while you sneak in an ad for Skinny Fit Tea on your Instagram, right? Those guys made money and she didn't, right? So currently, in order to make money, you gotta be Kim Kardashian on Twitter, right? Like, because she can post ads and she has companies that want to work with her and she can charge them $50,000 a tweet, right? Or an Instagram post or whatever. But if you're not Kim Kardashian and you have 7 followers, on Twitch you can still make money, right? You can make money with you can make money with no followers because somebody can find you by going to the latest tab, right? And they can give you money because they really enjoyed what you said, right? Or if you have valuable information, you can share that with the thing, and if other people find it valuable, they'll try and share it with their team. That's a feature that's coming in Twitch later, right? They'll share it with their timeline, and they'll pay you for the right to share that. And you'll receive a royalty every single time that somebody else shares it, even though it's far away from you, right? So you're receiving royalties based on your art, your information, quote, something you wrote, a long format blog post, which is another feature that will be out eventually. You're making money off of everything that you do in Twetch, right? Especially if you're going to be spending most of your day on Twitter, like a lot of people in our space do. They're sitting on the couch in their underwear anyway. Might as well be making money while you do it. So for us, we're really seeking to become a platform that we don't need the monopoly on speech, right? Like there's gonna be 1 million guys like us that make their own social networks and try and compete, just like in the traditional internet, right? But in this space, we really want to concentrate on providing a quality experience and having quality people make lots of money on our platform, right? And we don't want to be a place where people think that they can like force us into censoring people, right? We're not really interested in that, because as long as you're not doing anything illegal, there should be a version of Twetch that you can use, right? So, for instance, we kind of see it as a thing that eventually, I mean, we don't have any of this currently functioning, but part of our long-term plans is allowing each user to set their own rating, right? Which I've always thought is the way that Twitter should do it, right? Like, I'm not comfortable with these words, right? I'm not comfortable with this kind of content, so don't show it to me, right? But I think that everything from G-rated content, PG, PG-13, rated R, all the way up to X, as long as it's not illegal, as long as you're not murdering homeless people or something on our platform, or committing acts of violence or wrong things, right? It should be allowed. And the user can decide what level of content they want to watch, right? If you're a neo-Nazi or a white supremacist and you only want to watch guys with the hoods on their head, like doing Nazi salutes to burning crosses, and it's something that's not illegal, go for it, dude. If you are a pink-haired feminist with a pussy hat on and you just want to watch other people talk about gay rights all day and this and that, go for it, dude. All about it. Have fun. Have a great time, right?